What's up guys, Justin here, and right now I'm going to be doing a review on my Erbauer router. Yeah, here it is. So quite a hefty box to be honest, but you know, routers are pretty big anyway. They're pretty mean machines, aren't they? So basically you've got your standard Erbauer case here. Does have a more of a hinge type opening, if you like, rather than just having a plastic kind of bit across here. It has actually got hinges. They're only plastic, but you know, it's not too bad. It works for me quite well at the moment. So as we open it up, there are quite a few bits in here to explore. Okay, so this is the 2100 watt router. I bought this probably about a year ago, and I can't actually remember how much I paid for it. It probably was about 110, something like that, maybe a little bit more. It was definitely over the £100 mark. Am I pleased with it? Definitely. It's definitely a tool that you want to have in your workshop. Really does help out with little bits and pieces here and there, whether you're grooving or chamfering or rebating. You know, this bit of kit's really going to give you the whole thing. Right then, so instruction manual, that's always good. You do get, these were boxed but I've taken them out of the box. You do get 3 router bits here. Now they are on a 1/2 inch shank, so the shank here is 1/2 inch. You've got an angled groover, so 45-degree angled groover. We've got like just a straight shank piece. What's that? That's probably about a 6 or 8 mil straight cutter. And here we've got a nice radius bit on a bearing. That's always quite nice when you've got a bearing on a cutter. I would have to guess that's probably perhaps an 8 mil, maybe a 10 mil radius on that cutter there. So they do give you a few, perhaps just to get you started, so you can have a bit of a play with it, I guess. But I've got a few router bits that I've collected over the years, so it's nice to get myself a router and finally be able to use these bits. I'll show you a couple of those perhaps in a minute. There is a little bag of bits here. I'll show you what's in those in just one second. Let's have a look at the router itself. Okay, let's just put this, close this down for 1 second. All right then, so we got a nice relatively long lead here. Yeah, probably talking about 3 meter, 2.5 meter lead. That's kind of what you want. That's all good. Right then, so we're going to be holding it this way. Kind of want to show you the branding on that way, but obviously you're going to be holding it this way here with the Erbauer facing you. So got our trigger here, which actually you can only press by pressing the side button first, so it won't actually let you press that. I guess that's quite a good thing, because if you've got your hands there and perhaps you accidentally push the button, you know, that's, make sure you're completely ready. Right, so the plunge action, that feels quite smooth. You know, this is really important if you are going doing any kind of plunge work. You really do want that to feel solid, but at the same time very smooth. I quite like that. That's quite nice. So as you're plunging, you have got your lock here. So if I was plunging down to the desired depth, I just turn my lock on here, and that will obviously lock it into position, and then coming out, push down, and it will lift up. So with the plunging function, you have got this gauge here, a depth gauge, and you've also got 8 depth settings here, which is quite nice. We just can spin that round, and obviously you can excuse me, you can set it at different depths. Fantastic. Speed, so we can adjust the speed on here. I'm not quite sure what the revs per minute are on this. I know from fixed routers that I've used before do go up to about 18,000. I do believe they can go more than that. But 18,000 seems to be a, you know, a kind of average. I'm just looking on the back here and it doesn't actually say, oh yes, I think it does actually. It's 11,500 to 28,000. Wow, that's pretty fast. That is pretty fast. I probably wouldn't be running that at 28,000 revs per minute. That is a little bit excessive for me. I don't know, unless you're doing something with a really hefty cutter in there, but hey. So anyway, you've got your speed adjustment here, and that will take you from 1 to 6. I've spoken about the depth gauge, which of course you can adjust here. Also the depth settings, if you want a specific depth here. The lock, so we've got the lock, and also we've got a very slight depth adjuster. So you can adjust that depth using this knob up here, just for your very slight adjustment. You know, there's nothing more annoying than wanting to go down a little bit further, then oh, you've gone too far. So you can obviously lock it off and then you can just adjust it very slightly. I think that's a great feature. I like that. I do like that a lot. Like it a lot, like it a lot. Okay, so the collet itself then, so in order to lock the spindle, there is a push button here. So we just push that in the front, but this is already loose, so I don't need to push it for now. So if I just take the nut off, there we go. So I'm not sure whether this collet comes out. I don't think it does, to be honest. But in here, in the nut, you have got your 1/2 inch collet. So if you're using 1/2 inch bits, like we've got on this radius cutter, then obviously that just goes straight in and then you lock it in. The great thing about this is, and this is one of the specifications or one of the specs which made me buy this one, is that it does have also a 1/4 inch collet, which you just insert into the 1/2 inch collet. So if you do happen to have any 1/4 inch collets or shanks, sorry, any 1/4 inch shanks, then of course you can still use them. And again, this is one of the reasons I bought this one, because I knew I had quite a few 1/4 inch shanks and wanted to make sure that my router would accommodate that. So that's really nice. You've got your 1/4 inch shank there. So just putting this back in, it would obviously just be a screw fit, but once it starts tightening up, what you can do is just put your finger, so that's not tight yet, put my finger on there, yep, that's locked into position, and then using your spanner, there we go, you would just lock that router bit into position, like so. Right then, so that's basically the router itself. Really nice, you know, it's got a good feel to it, just like I've mentioned before on my other Erbauer tool reviews. Got quite a nice base, quite a large surface area on the base, so it's pretty stable and pretty secure, which is always important when you're using a tool like this, of course. Right, so a couple of the bits that we've got in here, see if that will go there. Nice extractor unit, which just basically sits in the front here. They do give you another pipe. I guess this is you know, you can stick another pipe in there or what have you, so a bit of an extension or adapter for other size pipes, but that's quite nice because the suction will take it straight, or the suction will come out right where the cutting is going on. So there's your extractor there. you have got a couple of jig plates here, so obviously if you're cutting around a jig, then you can affix these plates onto the underneath of the router. They're always quite nice. Sorry, going on that way. So that gives you a nice kind of trimming and jigging function there. Don't really use those that much myself, but hey, it's all good to have for sure. Right then, so you've got your guard, you've got your standard guard here, and this will just go into the side like so. So if you're not aware or haven't used a router before, then just like a jigsaw, you've got your guard on here, so you could literally just, if you needed to run a groove or a slot, you know, it's easy as that. Now the function you've got here is you can just adjust the position by sliding this in and out of the base of the router, and then if we just undo these two, you've also got that fine adjustment. You might just be able to see that move in as I turn this knob. So very slight adjustment there, and then we just lock it off with these two here and they stay nice and tight. So again, really nice look on the front there. Perfect, I like that, that's good. So let's take this off for a second, because I want to show you something on this part of the router. Now, if we take this part out, so I just need to unscrew this, so bear with me just 1 second. So we need to dismantle this guard very slightly. So I'll just take this large bolt out here, undo these and take that section off there. I'll just keep those springs to one side as well. Now somewhere here, there we go, in one of these bags, we do get this pin. Now what we use this for is to actually create circles using our router. Now I've used a router a fair bit in the past, and when I've had to do any circles, you know, this is the tool to use. I've seen people use jigsaws to make circles, but I think, to be honest, a router is the best way to go. So the great thing about this is I can put this onto the router as before. I can lock that into position, and if I know the radius of my circle, or if I've got the center of the circle, I'm literally just going to locate it here, or apply some pressure, just stab that into your workpiece, and then that is going to give you a perfect cut circle. I might just make that a bit smaller so you can see. You know, this would be pushed down a bit further into your workpiece, but that is going to give you an absolutely spot on circle. Don't forget about the directional cut though on the router. It's really important. You know, if you're using a jigsaw or a saw, it pretty much goes one way, but when you're using a router, you do need to make sure you're using it in the correct direction. So do look into that. There's some instructions on that in the book. So I just need to put this back together again, because just one other thing that we've got on here as well. So just make sure we get this on the right way. There we go. Pop that into there, lock that into position, and we'll just put this back into here, just so, oh, I need to take that out. Just want to make sure I've got all the pieces back together here. Hey, all over the place now. Right then, pop that back into there. That will do, all good. So the other thing we've got in here, again, I haven't used this particular thing, but if you're using this guard to produce grooves or slots, you can actually attach this to the underneath of the guard, so it will actually catch the cuttings exactly where they are coming away. Now, these two sections here of the guard, you can actually open these up, so you could have the router bit literally right there if you needed to. And then if you imagine having that extraction there, that's going to seriously suck up all that dust. So really nice, actually, really nice that that's applied to go on there and really give you some excellent dust extraction, because that is really important. We don't want to be breathing in that dust, particularly if it's MDF. It's not the nicest of materials. So there's a couple of bolts in there, and we use those for when we're using the jig plates. So that's for that. We've got the 1/4 inch shank. We've got the pin for creating the circles. We've got the dust extraction. We've got the adapter. We've got the guard as well. We've got the spanner. We've got a few router bits and the router itself. So there we go. That's pretty much about it with the router and everything you get in this pack. And there we go, so there are some instructions there. I hope you enjoyed this video and just having a look at this particular router. If you have got any questions on using a router, I more than welcome them. You know, I'd love to get any comments and be able to answer any questions. No problem at all, I'm more than happy to do that. But in the meantime, enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.